My name is Matthew. Oh, my name is Matthew Parsons, Head of Content and Communications at AltoVita. Thank you for joining us for this Alto Live webinar. We are going to be starting shortly. We're just waiting for people to kind of log in. So yeah, we'll be kicking this off very soon. Yeah, okay, still got some few more people logging at the moment, so bear with us. Right, okay. I think we've we've allowed people to come into the room now. So I'm going to officially start this webinar. So again, good afternoon. Welcome to the webinar, Enhancing the Relocation Experience. So my name is Matthew Parsons. I'm the Head of Content and Communications at AltoVita. And it's my pleasure to officially launch this new series of webinars, which we're calling Alto Live. So thank you to everyone for joining us today. Before we start, a bit of housekeeping. For any technical questions, please use the chat function at the bottom of the screen. And we'd also love to see where everyone is joining from. So feel free to use this chat function to let us know which city you're joining us from. The second item, the webinar is due to last for 45 minutes. And during that time, we encourage you to leave any questions using the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen. So we may be able to kind of answer these questions as we go along, but we'll also aim to leave some time towards the end for our panelists to answer them. And also, please bear in mind the session is being recorded, so any comments made will be available in the public domain. And finally, all participants will receive a link to this recording after we're done. So that's the housekeeping bits out of the way. Now onto the webinar. So for background, Sprite is a brilliant relocation management company based in Canada. And they use AltoVita to power their accommodation bookings and more. We chose the title Enhancing the Relocation Experience because we actually, this webinar follows a case study that we produced with Sprite, and we'll go into a partnership a little later on with them in more detail. But there is a QR code for you to access here, and that can take you to the report. And I think hopefully we can also post a link into the chat function to give you access to that report as well. So we're going to dive in shortly, hear about Sprite, how we work together. And we're also going to throw in a very short demo or two of the Alto platform actually in action, and we can talk about some of the features that Sprite uses. So that is enough for me. I'd now like to pass the moderating duties over to Brian, who I believe has literally just been hosting another webinar, the highly popular View from the Top. So we're thrilled that you could make it over to us for this webinar now, Brian. So over to you.
Okay, so thank you so much, Matt. My name is Brian Friedman. I am the host of the View from the Top, which goes out every Wednesday and finished literally about 15 minutes ago or so for this week. Interestingly, we were talking about on the subject today, we're talking about group moves, which is something that is very much in the sort of things we're going to be talking about today. So really, really interesting connection there. I am a non-executive board advisor to AltoVita, very proud of everything that AltoVita has achieved. And I'm super excited that we've got two really great mobility professionals with us today as we talk about how to enhance the relocation experience. I'm super delighted that we have with us Bridget Roux and we have Renee Bissonnette. So let's meet our guests. Let's get this show on the road. So let me start with you. There we are. Everybody's here. The screen is live. Okay. Bridget, let's start with you. Tell us a bit about yourself and how you got into this game of relocation.
Absolutely. First of all, hello, everyone. I'm really excited to be here, talk a little bit about what enhancing this experience really looks like. With my partner in crime here, Renee, that I've worked with for quite some time now. So a little bit about myself and kind of my journey. let's go way, way back, not too way back. But I started my journey in 2007. And I really didn't know anything about corporate housing or relocation. I really came from an entirely different background, which was pharmaceutical, believe it or not. So when I heard about a great opportunity with a large corporate housing company at that time, I decided, it was time to switch gears and really see if this was something that I could be interested in. Started off entry level and guest experience, and from there quickly embraced the culture, the vision, really the chaos that is corporate housing and relocation, and found that I had a knack at it, and really truly enjoyed working with the clients every day. It enriched my life day to day and my professional journey. And from there, I moved on to reservations. I worked with direct client services, account management. Throughout my time over the last almost 17 years now, I've been afforded the privilege to be able to work in many different roles in the organization, from supply to account management, client development. And now I'm at AltoVita as our operations team lead here for our Americas region, where I basically am incorporating all that experience knowledge that I have to really work effectively with our clients on making sure we're maximizing day-to-day efficiencies. And that really is my key objective, just making sure that we're offering exceptional service.
And whereabouts in the world are you today?
So I sit in sunny Florida. It's a little chillier today, but I am just about 30 minutes south of Tampa, and moved here about 7 years ago from Northern Virginia. So I am now in Florida on the
It
East
might be a
Coast.
bit chilly for you today, but I'm not. I'm not feeling it. I'm not. I'm sorry. I'm in London. It's wet and horrid today. And Renee, tell us a bit about yourself and where you are and your background and your journey into mobility and into Sprout.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Brian. So again, my name is Renee Bissonnette. I'm a bilingual lead mobility advisor at Sprout. My first mother tongue language is French. English is a learned language for myself. Sprout is a relocation management company that's based in Burlington, Ontario. And we were actually, we purchased the Canadian division of Crown World Mobility. So perhaps some people on the call may have heard of Crown. We're the Canadian division. Much like Bridget, I've been in the industry quite a long time. I've been in the industry for over 20 years, and I've had the opportunity to work at 3 different relocation management companies. So I've worked with many providers, many clients, many employees, and have had many experiences. In my role, I manage both domestic and international relocations. And the reason that I love relocation is because that genuine desire to make a positive impact. It's all about that human connection, assisting these employees. It's not for them just getting from A to B. It's really assisting them transition in their new role and their new life. So what drew me to Sprout is that it's not only an expert in global mobility, but it's they've got a passion for the individuals behind the move. And I really love what I do. Again, you're not in this industry if you don't love it. It's really a passion of mine. And outside of work, just a little bit personal, you're going to find me cheering on my son at his rep hockey games. And I also enjoy some friendly competition myself. I do like to play some sports, so that's pretty fun. But I really like the work-life balance and find joy in both the professional and the personal pursuits in my life.
Okay, well, I just want to ask a little bit more about Sprout, because I think everyone in the industry has heard of Crown. Sprout obviously is a much newer brand, but you are basically the former Canadian bit of Crown that Sprout bought. So tell us a bit about Sprout and the Sprout vision and what makes you different to others in the market.
Yeah, so Sprout was born in 2021. We did purchase the Canadian division from Crown World Mobility. Now we branded into Sprout. We came live at the Canadian the CERC conference in September of 2022. So we've been a full year and a half now in the industry as Sprout. And really, we're taking a different approach. We want to go back to basics. We want to focus on the human element of the relocation, the emotions, the challenges. Really, people aren't going to remember necessarily what lawyer they used. They may remember the Tempacom, the property itself. But at the end of the day, it's how did they feel about the relocation? So we're really trying to focus on that human element, that human connection, going back to basics. Our mobility advisors have reduced caseloads so that we do have that option and that opportunity to focus in on exactly what's required for that relocation.
Okay, well, what I love about that is you're talking about, if you like, the human touch, human mobility, if you want. And I know, obviously, from an AltoVita perspective, very much a tech company, but it's that intersection, isn't it, of being, high tech and high touch. And sometimes people say to me, should we have a tech solution or a high touch solution? I would say, actually, it's not an either or discussion. It's a both.
Both. Yeah.
So Bridget, tell us a bit about AltoVita and the tech vision, and a little bit about what the company is doing and some of the really cool stuff that's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Renee hit it spot on. I mean, from the AltoVita perspective, I mean, truly just to kind of go back a little bit, I mean, 2018, you have two incredible women from completely different backgrounds that had that chance meeting and where they were able to discuss some of the challenges and obstacles that they faced. Both of them, they've moved to over 20 different cities, even globally, and really starting that dialogue on what are some of the challenges that are faced when you're doing booking your travel and you're looking for suitable accommodations. And of course, that drove to a deeper discussion on what that really looked like. And so they came together and really thought of, how can we make a change and really change, for lack of a better word, some of the complacency or lack of incentives in that corporate housing sector. And so hence how AltoVita was born. And from there, we were able to really craft a very thoughtful technology that does truly enhance kind of those overall efficiencies, coupled with that personal touch. And I think, Renee, when you spoke to that, I think that's why our relationship is so powerful. It's just because we've been able to kind of bridge that gap between the efficiencies of using the technology, but also personalizing that and knowing that there is a full team behind the scenes where AltoVita is much more than a technology. It truly is a team and a group of people across all regions. We are headquartered in London, so we have our EMEA presence, Singapore, as well as our Americas, and now even working further into expanding in the Middle East. So, but to speak to that again, it really does come from the people element. And I think that's what makes us work so efficiently well for clients like Sprout Relocation.
And I suppose it is a case study. Well, I know it's a case study we can download, but how AltoVita and Sprout are working together is a very good case study, is one word, a very good exemplar, actually, of how two organizations can partner well to create a real win-win and a real mutual benefit. Because, as you say, Renee, you are human touch led, but yet you need the solid technology behind you. And one of my bugbears, I've said it so many times, speaking to clients, is that until companies like AltoVita and others in the industry came along, I always felt that you got better technology when you're ordering a pizza than when actually you were managing a move or a relocation. The technology was actually, pretty, slow and well, just not there. So Renee, tell us, let's go back to what some of the problems were that this relationship has solved, and we'll go on to the solutions in a moment. But in the bad old days, and I suspect there's going to be lots of people still living in those bad old days, and you're wanting to do a booking, tell us about what the process was like and what the inefficiencies were, and what were the things that would keep you up at night and make you tear your hair out.
Wonderful. The old way, I'm going to say it because I do think that AltoVita is the new way. So the old way would really be filling in a form on a company approved document, emailing it to the temporary accommodations contact, hoping that they've received your email. I'm sure they're working on it in the background. Sometimes they acknowledge your email, but then it's sort of that waiting game, waiting to see, are they working on options? Do they have options? When are we going to get the options? Then getting an email, getting some property details and sometimes a feature sheet. Then from my side, I need to although they are vetted, I also need to do my vetting. So I need to look at the properties. Are they in close proximity to their work? Is it really going to work for them? What is the size of the units? You know, we're getting sometimes 4, 5, 6, 7 options. They're all different pricing. They're all different sizing. So I really need to compare the properties and make sure that I want to put them forward to my employee or to the corporate client to get approval. Then it's that waiting game of the employee getting back to me. You know, they see static pictures. They see a picture of a bedroom and a kitchen, but it's, you know, it's sometimes not the greatest because it's on a feature sheet or it's sometimes been photocopied back in the day. They would get back to me with their option, and then I need to email back the Tempacom provider and do the booking. They would then come back to me via email and confirm. So there's a lot of sending and waiting. And so what would happen on my side is I would have to task myself, well, don't forget to follow up, right? Or don't forget to get the options. So there, as you can see, it's not very high touch, or it's not very high tech, it's very high touch. So it took a lot of time for myself. Compound that by how many Tempacom providers or how many Tempacom units we maybe need in a week or in a month. There's a lot of action items that, you know, throwing the balls up in the air and just waiting. So that was the old way of doing it.
I think in some ways, I mean, you've actually been quite kind there, because I actually think in some ways it was worse than you said, because I think there was another stage that you didn't mention, which is that you send the email back having chosen the ones that you wanted, and then you'll probably get an email back at some point saying, too late, that one's gone now.
Yes, that happens quite often.
It goes
yes.
around again. And the point is, it's not like that in our everyday lives. And this is my, you know, the bugbear I always say is, why can't our technology be similar to what we get in our everyday life? Because if I'm booking a holiday on one of the big booking platforms, I will just go on and I will book it. I'll read the reviews, I'll look at it, and the whole thing will be done and dusted. Well, apart from the fact you've got to make the decision, which takes ages, but actually, sort of when you've decided what you want, the thing is done and dusted within minutes, if not
Yeah.
seconds.
Yeah.
And we're not like that as an industry. So we've seen the problem. The problem has been, you know, the lack of communication. As you said, it goes into, you know, you send an email, hopefully it hasn't gone into junk, but you don't know whether they've received it. You're then waiting. They then go, and to be fair to the accommodation booker, they're going down their supply chain as well.
Yep.
What's going on? Maybe going out to 2 or 3 people in different locations, coming back to you, sending you PDFs or whatever they've copied and pasted in. So you haven't got anything that looks pretty or is easy to deal with. The whole thing goes round and round. And I mean, how long typically could it take? 48 hours, maybe more, to book accommodation?
Sometimes more, depending on the locations.
Yeah.
If we were looking somewhere internationally, there would definitely be a significant delay.
Okay, so we know that there's a problem, or there was a problem, and normally where there's a problem, someone comes along and finds a solution. Cue AltoVita. So, Bridget, just tell us a bit about some of the issues. We'll go into a demo in a bit, but let's talk us through some of the, in broader terms, some of the solutions that AltoVita has come up with.
Yeah, absolutely. And to kind of touch on some of the things that Renee commented on, which makes me instantly think of, you know, what we have done to really improve kind of that overall efficiency. And it truly comes down to that consolidation. The technology, what it allows us to do, what it allows us to be able to provide is we're able to effectively send out a magnitude of multiple options from various and multiple different operators. At times even where we can incorporate an entire preferred supply network for a client, which enables us to be able to seamlessly be able to confirm availability and craft and prepare short lists for review by clients such as Renee, so that she is able to go ahead and then efficiently have everything compiled in one location and be able to have the same formatting. It comes down as well, like you said, that the having to send multiple emails back and forth and really collecting all that data. So with that, I'd love to actually show really quickly what I'm speaking to and what this short list looks like. So we prepared just a short little demo here to really just give you and the audience an overall kind of view of what this looks like from the user end experience. So once a curated short list has been prepared and it's ready to go ahead and then be reviewed by Renee in this instance, or any client that we're sharing this information with. You're able to see here, this is the information that they're seeing. They're then able to approve. You can click send to a corporate, or if you need to get budget approvals, you can absolutely do that and send it to whoever you need to. But this allows you to send all this information right directly from technology, and be able to then go ahead and make sure that it gets sent to the various people that needs the information, all with just the click of a button. Once the options are shared, at that point, everyone that's been included on that particular email chain receives that email, including AltoVita as well. So the communication is seamless. All parties know what has transpired during that transaction. So again, I think this shows the overall kind of efficiencies of what it truly looks like to have all of that information consolidated in one format, and the ability to use the AltoVita technology platform to send that off to who needs to see it, all within one tool. And then for the next portion, let's kind of take a view here now from this point. What does it look like when the options are shared with an employee or with an assignee? They're able to effectively open up the short list. The PIN that you see would be notably an address or a location that they have a preference for. And what this does is it allows the recipient to be able to really look and browse and see how close is this going to be to the location I want to be in. Is it going to be something that will work for my particular stay? There, they can click on the complete slideshow, see all the photos of the available accommodation, read a brief description, see an entire list of all the amenities, to include, square footage or bed arrangements, anything that would be helpful for the recipient to better understand before making that key selection on where they want to stay. And from here, I really want to kind of talk a little bit more kind of about the efficiency that this map really truly does enable, because we're speaking to how do we stop so much back and forth email? How do we stop so much more of that communication as well? So Renee, I'd like to maybe ask you too, and kind of your thoughts around once you receive these options and what this has done to really kind of change your day to day.
Yeah, exactly. So the first thing is I love consistency. So I love that first view where there were the three options and I can see they're exactly the same, even if they might be from a different vendor from your side. I'm seeing the exact same information from AltoVita. So it's very consistent. I can see the pricing, I can see the square footage, I can see the amenities, and I'm able to compare directly apples to apples versus having to open up one feature sheet, maybe opening up another feature sheet, then having to go into Google to map the addresses. We do have a lot of people, specifically if they're looking for temporary accommodations in the major centers like Toronto or Vancouver, they want to be within walking distance. So they actually will type into Google, see how close it is, and try to figure out if it's within walking distance or not. So by AltoVita being able to have that map there, I'm sending that information to the employees. They can visually see property 1 is here, property 2 is there. They can also see all of the comparable features, and it allows them to make a decision on which property they would like. The other thing that I really love about AltoVita's platform is that I have the capability to send directly to the corporate client. We have a lot of corporate clients who want to approve the pricing first of all. And so the old method, Brian, would be sending that entire email with all the options. And sometimes we would go to multiple providers. So I'd have to compile one email with each provider information and options, send it to the corporate client. Again, then they have to open up feature sheets if they want to look at the property. Do they think that it's acceptable for their employee? I mean, they usually are, but people have personal preferences. And then they would have to email me back and let me know, yes, these options are okay. I would then have to go to the provider and say, we only want to present option 1, 3, 5. But again, I've compiled multiple different providers on one email. So then I have to separate them, go back to each. It just is taking a lot more time. So by AltoVita having this high-tech site, it really removes a lot of that back and forth and allows me to focus on the employee instead of, creating an email, sending an email, following up on an email. Everything is done through the system. And I know that the employees have had a great opportunity. A lot of them will actually go and book their own unit. So once I get approval from the corporate client, I can deselect any properties that are not approved, and only the ones that are approved would get sent by email to the employee. But it literally is as easy as Bridget showed on the little video there. It's a click, send to employee. I can tailor my email if I want. I get copies of the emails. AltoVita gets copies of the emails. So everything is recorded. I feel like nothing is missed.
So you're a busy woman, Renee. So how much time has it saved you? What do you say are the efficiency savings?
Oh my, I would say significant time. Again, all these emails, writing, having to tailor them, writing them back and forth really is quite time consuming.
Like
based on volume. It could be, sometimes a couple hours in a week, because it is a lot of back and forth having to go back. So that's really then giving me the opportunity to use that time for the employee. Now you can imagine temporary accommodations is one service of the many services I administer. So, by AltoVita saving me time, I'm able to focus maybe on other services that are maybe not as high tech, where I still have to do the, archaic way of doing things. But one of the reasons why we partnered with why we partnered with AltoVita is Sprout is all about change. We're about breaking the rules. We're not about this is the way it was done. We want to really partner with people that understand our vision and want to be like us. So it's the human element is very important. And I don't feel like that's missing from AltoVita. I get people right away when I need questions or, anything that is required, we get that support from AltoVita. So I do really think that it's the best of both worlds.
Okay. And Bridget, I mean, we've talked a bit about the quality. Let's talk a little bit about the quantity. How many units does AltoVita have on the platform globally?
Yeah, absolutely. And we're continuously always looking to expand kind of that footprint, right? We are at over 7 million units effectively.
Wow, 7 million units. That is incredible. Yeah.
It's very extraordinary. I mean, the time and effort that's really been put into just carefully have those deeper conversations with the operators globally. Because, we're, again, going back to kind of the topic that we're not just a technology company. There are real human beings behind the scenes that are really making this happen and work. And I think what really sets us apart from, say, maybe other booking agencies or booking rental companies is that piece, that element is missing. And so you have a complete hospitality growth partnerships team who's doing a 4-tier quality control for these properties, vetting these operators, going through each and every listing to be sure it's of standard. To speak even to knowing your account or client, I think also that element is missing from that perspective. And what we bring to the table is of having that knowledgeable, skilled team, whether it's our customer success department, our hospitality growth team, what have you. We are going to know the ins and outs of that client, that corporate, what policies, what the policies look like, what the budgets look like. And I think that component is so important when you're partnering with someone on that level.
Yeah, there's so many cool features here. I mean, I don't know where to start. I mean, I just love that map. I know you do too, Renee. The fact that you can just see it out there. You can see all the little dots where the units are. You can see where the office is. You can see the commute distance.
And you can see the amenities around you from that map. So it's really quite intuitive.
Well, I mean, I can get that, in my personal life if I go onto, one of these big booking websites. Why can't I get it in the corporate one? The answer is you can, and it's here. But there's other cool stuff in there as well. I mean, what about all the sort of the sustainability stuff, the green stuff? Bridget, can you tell us a bit about the the eco stats aspects of it?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's something that obviously is a huge focus. It's a focus for so many important clients and corporations across the globe, and we are looking 2024 to be really a true year to start being able to collaborate and consolidate that information on all of our listings and work with partners and operators that truly also share that same vision. What does it mean to control CO2 emissions? What does that look like? What does your global footprint look like? And so what our technology is going to have the ability to do is when you are searching for something for yourself, if you are using, our landing page there, for example, to self-serve, as a self-service, which is something that we provide, and you're looking for something that might be more eco-friendly or more sustainable, you're going to have that information readily available to you. You're going to know what are the emissions about, what is this operator or property all about? And I think that's so critical and key and important, especially when you're thinking overall, where we're going in the future with that. And we need to be, more careful and considerate when it comes to those types of, standards.
I think that's so important because, as an industry, relocation is probably one of the worst offenders when it comes to carbon footprints, because almost by definition what we do is we move people, which will always create a footprint, and then we're going to be putting them in accommodation and we might be creating more of a problem there. So to actually have something to have the data hand, because as sure as eggs are eggs, somebody senior in the organization is going to be coming down at some point and saying, well, what are the sustainability metrics for domestic travel, international travel, relocation, etc., and to be ahead of the game and say, well, actually, not only do we have them, but we're doing something about it, is just awesome. There's another area I wanted to talk about. I mean, you touched on it, Bridget. You talked about the fact that we've got data, that we collect all the data, but there is a move where you can go from having data to having wisdom. And I know there's a lot of sort of alto insights where you've got sort of data that you can do stuff with. Can you, or both of you, tell us a bit about what that is and how it can be used?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have launched our Alto Insights, and truly what it is, and it really is a way and a tool, a dashboard for our clients to really get a deep dive into all of that information that has been over, say you want to look at something for the entire course of 2023, you're now able to log in, you'll be able to see all the information from average daily spend to how much overall organizationally the company has spent that year, cost savings information, which I think is so key and critical because we have clients that have very unique policies or specific budgets that they have to be allocated or adhered to. And I think having that information readily available at your fingertips to be able to log in and see that information right away, that it was a 15% cost savings year over year or month over month. Really truly deep diving into that, I think, makes a huge impact. Again, it talks about the overall efficiencies. It speaks to the technology needs to be more than just just booking accommodations. It truly needs to be an extension of a client, of a relocation company, that they can go in and be able to have all of this data readily available to them at any moment. So much more to obviously discuss on that. And I know that, we have 45 minutes. I could probably speak to this all day long, Brian, quite honestly.
Let me bring Renee into the conversation. How important is that sort of information or data, as I call it, wisdom, to you at Sprout now and going forward?
It's very important for us. It allows us to see where we have spikes in maybe some different locations. Sprout is a global company, and we utilize AltoVita as a global provider, so we can see where we've put people across the world. We're able to do some benchmarking for future relocations. We're able to go and use that information for the account reviews, so they can see specifically where their spend was, how many days on average they were utilizing for temporary accommodation. So it really gives us a lot of additional information to be able to assist in planning their upcoming moves and their policies. Perhaps we can utilize this to see that they've used more than the benefit that they're allowed. So that allows our director to be able to use that information.
Okay, we've talked about this, or this webinar is called Enhancing the Relocation Experience. Let's focus on the experience aspect. We've talked about the benefits here, the experience to you as the mobility or the relocation manager, to the consultant, but also to the end user. Tell us a bit about the experience aspects of all this.
In terms of the platform, I have received comments that it's quite easy and user-friendly. Again, they get the email, they're able to click on I think it's a link, and it opens up, or review properties, and it opens up their own personalized page where they can see the map, they can see the options. And I think that that's a really great benefit for the employee. Now, we all know that that doesn't stop there. So the sourcing of the accommodation is one part of the experience, But really, once they move into their property, the check-in instructions, the constant communication from the AltoVita team, they get a designated guest experience person who reaches out to them and is their day-to-day contact should there be any questions or issues. Sometimes there's something that's missing, or sometimes they would like something additional into the property, and they are able to just contact that person immediately and get a very quick response. So from the entire booking, the entire stay, all the way up to the end to the checkout experience is quite positive for the employee, because they do feel like they're supported and they do feel that they have somebody that's there the entire way, versus coming to me to say, Renee, there's a problem, and then I have to go to AltoVita and report that issue and sort of be that middleman. So I'm involved in all the communication and I see everything, but they do really feel that they're taken care of by that AltoVita guest experience contact directly.
Okay. And I suppose I'd also want to just broaden the conversation out. And we've talked a lot about the AltoVita solution, and we've talked about Sprout, and it's been absolutely fascinating. But seeing as we've got you on the show, Renee, and it's nice to see somebody, you know, from coming with a sort of, you know, from Canada. Tell us a bit about the perspective from your side of the pond. What are you seeing as the broader trends facing us in our industry?
Well, the elephant in the room is obviously COVID-19. That has changed the industry significantly. We're seeing that now with either hybrid models or people being able to work from home or work remotely. We have seen a slight decline in relocations, but I do think that that's not sustainably long-term. I know specifically in Canada, we're trying to get people back into the offices, sort of boost that economy, you know, enough of working from home. Let's get back to people. Let's get back to seeing each other. Let's get back to being, you know, having in-person meetings. Webinars are great, but there's something about, again, that human connection that is lacking. So I do think that relocations are never going to go away. It's definitely here to stay. And we're seeing that business is booming, I would say, within the last year.
Okay. We've got some questions coming in, so I'll sort of start with some of those. I'll start one with you, Bridget. I mean, instant booking. I mean, how many instant booking properties are there within AltoVita? And I know it's by no means all, because there are issues in the industry about doing instant booking, unlike in hotels. Tell us a bit about instant bookings and extended stay.
Absolutely. So yeah, instant booking. I mean, that's been kind of like, you know, on discussion on for so long. I mean, what does this really look like, and can we really make this happen? And what we've been able to really do on our side, to answer the first point, is we have over 80% of our listings are instantly bookable. One of the things that we have really demonstrated and taken time to really collectively do.
Let's just focus on that number again. Can you just repeat it? I think it's really important to emphasize that.
Over 80%.
Over 80%, 80% of
Correct.
the 7 million are instantly bookable. I mean, that is just incredible.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I think it just makes it, again, it's all about efficiency. It's all about, you know, people are busy. They want to make sure that they're able to go ahead and search and be able to find something and have that information and a booking confirmed and completed right away. And so I think the key takeaway, of course, is just being able to be efficient, being able to go ahead and maximize a wide range of asset class styles. So, you know, when we talk about, you know, truly what kind of inventory, you know, does AltoVita have in that, you know, 7 million units, and it truly is such a wide, diverse class. I mean, you're talking about hotels, extended stay hotels, single family homes, private villas, multifamily, traditional corporate housing. So we really are looking to incorporate a wide range of asset class styles and making that readily accessible to our clients, whether you be self-serve, whether it be relocation, short-term assignment, regardless of what your move is. It really is to be the one all fixed kind of solution to be able to really maximize and just deliver that experience that you want as an end user.
Because that's the experience we all want, isn't it? We want to be able to go in, see some property we like, book it, job done. And, you know, going back to that earlier discussion Renee and I had, is that at the moment we have this, or the old way, if you like, as you put it so nicely, was this big circular chain of emails and PDFs and spreadsheets and cutting and copying and pasting. And then having done all that, you then found that actually, the ones that were fancied are not available, surprise, surprise, because somebody else has got in there before. All that disappears if you can do instant booking. So that really is the holy grail. And the fact that we've got 80% live with instant booking is just incredible. Kudos to AltoVita. Question for you, Renee. I mean, let's just go back to Canada or US and Canada. What are the big challenges that you're seeing? Is it that the apartments just aren't available? Is that a problem, or is it prices are too high? What are the challenges that you're seeing in the marketplace?
Vancouver prices are significantly high, as you can imagine, also based on supply and demand. But we do see in the peak months, summer is difficult to find some accommodations in the major centers in Canada and in US. We do find a lot of people use those properties for vacation, sometimes insurance companies, depending on if there's any disasters that are happening. We've noticed there were some tornadoes in Ottawa a couple of years ago, and all the accommodations were booked up by insurance companies. So supply is an issue sometimes in the summer months, but we've been pretty lucky thus far working with AltoVita that we've always been able to find something.
Okay, and we've got another question that's come in from Marielle. She said, in some countries, registration on the accommodation is required to complete the in-country relocation. Do the temporary accommodation provided include this option, or can this be set as a criteria? Bridget, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry, one more time, just so I can better understand the question.
Yeah, the question from Marielle was, in some countries, registration on the accommodation is required to complete the in-country relocation. Do the temporary accommodation provided include this option, or can this be set as a criteria?
Yeah, absolutely. And we have been asked on many occasions, depending on whatever specific or unique location it may be, to provide this documentation. And so we are able to assist with that. And we work really closely with our local or direct operators that we are partnering with as well to be able to get this information as well on the backside. So that documentation can be obtained. Absolutely.
Okay, I think we're pretty much out of time, actually. Let's just bring Matt back into our conversation. So he's going to be joining us. There we go, Matthew. Are there any remarks that you would like to make, my good sir?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm just going to try and share the screen. I just want to say, huge thank you to Renee for joining us, for our first Alto Live webinar. I think it was really interesting working with Renee and the team on the case study and getting into sort of, the minute details of how we actually work together and the challenges you have, especially working with these big financial companies and getting their employees into sort of amazing accommodation, and kind of like you say, where the prices are can be very high. So it's just really interesting working with you on that. So I really appreciate you joining us today, and also want to say thank you to Bridget as well for sharing her insights more on the technical side. That's why I think it's been really interesting. And again, to repeat, the points that have been made, I mean, working, behind the scenes here, you get that sense of how it's kind of like the technology is there, but then the consultants are kind of bringing this next level service and, due diligence and just making the technology come alive. So I think that's my takeaway really. So I think, like you said, Brian, we are, coming up to the end of this. So thank you again, Brian. Thank you for making it to this webinar, from hosting the other one. So yeah, that's all from me really. I will say as well that as I mentioned before, we are going to be sending a link of this recording to everyone who's registered, and also we'll be including the links to the case study. So so I think it's been brilliant kind of first Alto Live webinar. So I want to thank everyone for kind of joining as well and interacting with us. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, take care, everybody.
Thank you.